Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Dorset Council Northern Area Planning Committee Part 2. For those of you who weren't with us this morning, I'm Councillor Sherry Jesperson, and I'm the chair of this committee. And my first task this afternoon is to take a roll call of members who are with us here. So, members, as I call your name, if you could unmute your mic, say that you're here, and then mute again. Councillor Andrews.
Councillor John Andrews, Sherborne East, present.
Tim Cook.
Councillor Tim Cook, Shaftesbury, present.
Councillor Fry.
Good afternoon, Councillor Les Fry, Dorset West, present.
Councillor Hall.
Councillor Matthew Hall, Sherborne West, present.
Councillor Heatley.
Good afternoon, Councillor Heatley, Rodman and Wyke, Weymouth, present.
Councillor Jones.
Carol Jones, Sturminster Newton, present.
Councillor Penfold.
Councillor Penfold, representing Yepminster Ward, present.
Councillor Apothecary.
Councillor Val Apothecary, Gillingham Ward.
Councillor David Taylor.
Good afternoon, Councillor David Taylor, Chelmsford St Mary Ward, present.
Thank you. And we have had apologies from Councillor Emma Parker and Councillor Belinda Rideout. Our first agenda item then this afternoon is 5C. This is for land west of Shaftesbury Road in South Gillingham. Members, you will remember that we had a very good discussion on this application at our September meeting. It's back with us today to consider a relatively minor amendment, which in the officer's view does not affect the overall acceptability of the scheme. Nonetheless, the conditions were agreed by the committee, and therefore changes to the report have to be agreed by the committee. That's why it's before us again so soon. Simon McFarlane, Senior Planning Officer, will present his report. Simon, over to you.
Good afternoon, Sherry. Councillors, thank you very much for that introduction. I will just load my screen.
Thank you.
Okay, and can you see that?
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Okay,
thanks for the introduction, Sherry. I think you covered the summary points very well. I'll just go through a quick reminder of what this is about. So the application came before the committee on the 15th of September, and we're back due to a minor change, which I shall go on to explain further. Just as a reminder, the principal street is a key piece of infrastructure associated with the Gillingham Southern Extension, as shown here. This is the location. The principal street will eventually connect the B3092 to the B3081. This is the illustrative master plan as proposed by the applicant Welbeck in the outline application, which has resolution for approval subject to section 106. This is the detailed design of the principal street that is subject of this application that has been submitted by the council. The principal street has funding from Homes England and will be delivered by the council, which will assist in the delivery of the wider scheme. So since September 2020 committee, the recommendation at that time was to approve subject to conditions and no further adverse comment from the Environment Agency because of an outstanding objection that they had on a technical matter. So since that committee, the Environment Agency have withdrawn their objection, but then with further discussions that have taken place with the landowners, this has resulted in proposed amendments to hedgerow relocation areas, which has had a subsequent knock-on effect and changed the plan reference numbers, which has the effect of changing condition 4 and condition 12. So this recommendation is now slightly amended to just be to approve subject to conditions. So we can see on the left-hand side, as presented in September, this was the location of the hedge relocation areas. So this is made necessary by some hedgerows are lost with the introduction of the principal street. So to mitigate against that, we replant them elsewhere. Whilst the principal street is going to be constructed and before the housing is delivered on this site, the farmer will continue to graze his cattle. So the location of these hedgerows on the left-hand side was going to interrupt his farming operations to some extent. So they agreed with the farmer and with Natural England and with the Dorset biodiversity team that the revised locations that are shown in the right-hand picture would be more suitable. So the length of hedgerow relocation is exactly the same. So there's really no difference in benefit, and hence why the recommendation is to still approve. So hopefully this has been brief. So apart from those minor amendments, there's been no other material changes to the application or planning policy since September committee. We've got support from Natural England and the Dorset internal natural environment team, and therefore the recommendation remains to approve subject to the amended conditions in the report. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Simon. So we have no submissions from consultees. So I can go straight to questions, first of all, from members. I have Councillor Fry would like to ask a question.
Well, it's more of a statement.
Yeah.
Chair, I would like to propose this. It seems common sense. There's no loss of hedgerow and habitat there. It just makes completely sense what is being said from an ex-farmer's point of view. I would like to propose it.
That's very helpful. Councillor Andrews.
Yeah, and I will agree totally with Councillor Fry, and I'll second it.
That's very helpful. I will just go to the ward member, Councillor Apothecary, in case she has something she'd like to say.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to say, really, I note the withdrawal of objection from the Environment Agency, and I'm happy with the amendments. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We've had a proposer and a seconder. The ward member is content. Does anyone want to say something different than that? If not, I can probably move straight to a vote on this one. Anyone indicate that they're not happy with going straight to a vote? That's excellent. We will do that then. We have the recommendations before us to approve subject to the amended conditions in the report. I will, as I call your name, could you indicate whether you're for, against or abstain? Councillor Andrews.
For.
Councillor Cook.
For.
Councillor Fry.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Heatley.
For.
Councillor Jones.
For.
Councillor Penfold.
For.
Councillor Apothecary.
For.
Councillor Taylor.
For.
There we are. That was nice and neat and tidy, wasn't it? Thank you very much indeed, members. So we move on then to agenda item 5C. This is Greenfields in Sodom Lane in Marnell, a delightful rural name for a lane there. That Marnell has Sodom Lane and it has Love Lane, so it's covering all bases, isn't it? Now this is an outline application for 4 dwellings and parking spaces. Our senior planning officer, Cass Warman, is going to present her report. Cass.
Thank you, Councillor. Good afternoon, everybody. This is an application for the erection of 4 dwellings within the settlement of Marnell. The site is within the exclave to the northeast of the main village, adjacent to the Corner Close site estate. I'm just going to get my pinpointer up so I can illustrate for you. So the main village of Marnell, the exclave to the northeast, the Corner Close estate is to the east again, and this is the application site. The proposal is to demolish the existing bungalow which currently sits in the centre of the site and replace it with 4 detached dwellings, so the scheme resulting in a net gain of 3 dwellings. The scheme is in outline with access and layout only at this stage to be determined. The proposed configuration of the dwellings would be 2 to the front facing Sodom Lane, access through the middle leading to parking areas in the central, and then 2 behind. Although access is and layout is the only things to be assessed at this point, Indicative drawings of how the dwellings might look have been provided to help us visualise what these might look like. Simple marnel stone cottages. And as you can see from the next slide, as we go along Sodom Lane, this is how it would fit in with the general character of the site. So the item has been referred to committee following objections raised by the parish council due to character, layout and density over development and impact on neighbouring amenity. So with regards to character, this is a Google image showing Corner Close estate, which is adjacent to the site. So I'm going to just go along Sodom Lane to show you the context of where it would sit. So this is Corner Close. The site sits here, going down Corner Close slightly. This is the existing bungalow, which is proposed to be demolished. A dwelling here and a dwelling here would be proposed. Access in a similar location with two dwellings sat behind. And you can see Corner Close dwellings sat behind in a similar kind of arrangement in a cul-de-sac type thing. And then going past the site, turning around and looking back, these are the allotments in the fields that separate this little exclave of Marnell. This is Stony Lawn behind, and then this is the application site here and Corner Close here. So with regards to character, it seems commensurate with the adjacent estates. An appropriate amount of development. With regards to layout and density, this is the layout here, 2 at the front, access through the middle and 2 at the back. Each dwelling is offset from the boundary of their plot and the boundary of the site, with adequately sized gardens to the rear, to the front, around the sides and to the rear. The back gardens and the parking backing onto the front, allowing these areas to be private and separate, and then same to the here. It's considered that the degree of plot coverage is commensurate with the general layout of Corner Close. So with regards to impact on amenity, concerns have been raised with regards to the closest house in proximity, which is this. This is Salisbury Cottage, a 2-storey gabled building that sits adjacent to the site boundary going along here. So the general way that the site would be set out, a dwelling here, a dwelling here, a dwelling here, and a dwelling here. So there's some site photos just to illustrate that relationship. The blue arrow showing where this next photo is going to be taken from towards the side. So there would be a garden here, the dwelling in front, and then this is Salisbury Cottage behind. So a parking area for one of the proposed dwellings would lie across this boundary with the garden here and then the dwelling to the front. So there would be separation by a parking area, the dwelling's garden and then the dwelling. From the other direction, so there would be a dwelling approximately here, looking across to the west. This is the photo showing the gable of Salisbury Cottage. This is the porch of the existing bungalow. And again, for this plot, as outlined in the report, it's proposed to have the attached garage along this boundary and then the bulk of the proposed dwelling offset against that to minimise any potential overbearing or overcrowding to Salisbury Cottage by having that degree of separation with a single storey, like I assume, garage here and then the dwelling next door. So this one's recommended for approval. It's considering that the character of the proposal is commensurate with the adjacent Corner Close and Marnell in general. The layout and density is also commensurate with the surrounding development and that there's adequate amenity space and that the proposed dwellings are laid out appropriately. The impact on Salisbury Cottage is acceptable and make sure that in the reserved matters with any design that any overlooking is acceptable. And also with regard to trees, which you'll note in the report, 3 TPO trees will be retained and there's numerous amounts of conditions proposed for the mitigation, protection and further planting as well. And as a way of update to the report, the Biodiversity Mitigation and Enhancement Plan has been received yesterday from the Dorset Natural Environment team, signed and approved. So that condition that's currently in draft in the report can be updated with that report. That's it, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Cass. We have no highways presentation this afternoon because it's from highways point of view, this is very straightforward. No submissions from the parish or from the public, so we move straight to invite the ward member, Councillor Graham Carr-Jones, who would like to address the committee. Graham.
Thank you, Chair. Okay. Difficult one, this one. I mean, I'm not a fan of garden developments, I have to say. And I know that the parish council have asked me to reiterate their objection to this application. However, the difficulty is that there's a 2017 consent on the site. I might add, before my tenure in the ward of Marne and Stallbridge. So it's a rather difficult one, isn't it, from that point of view? So it's all about mitigation, and for me to mitigate the any issues on Salisbury Cottage, and as the officer said, it's an outline consent, so all of this has to be dealt with under reserved matters. So could I just make the plea, Chairman, from the parish council's point of view, that when it comes to reserved matters, please would they work with the parish council to sort the reserved matters out, rather than bring them there, let the parish council look at them, and then there be an argy-bargy over it. Let's work with the parish council. If the officer's recommendations to approve and the committees go with that recommendation. But as I say, the parish council objected in 2020, and they've asked me to reiterate their objections. Otherwise, Chairman, I have nothing further to add.
That's very helpful, yes, and I think that's a point well made. It's always slightly awkward, isn't it, when we're seeing outline applications, and we know that the devil will be in the detail of the later application. Members, I have Councillor Les Fry to ask a question. Councillor Fry.
Yes, please. I have two questions. First one, Can you tell us about the 2017 application, please? Just some information, because that obviously impacts on what I'm thinking here. And the second one is my normal question about renewables, please.
Yes, good. All right. Can we hear a little more, Cass, about the 2017 permission?
Of course, the 2017 permission is exactly the same as presented before you. The layout that was agreed in 2017 with this garage here to offset from the boundary with the neighbour was agreed and negotiated during that 2017 application, and that's been retained in this application, and the details are otherwise exactly the same.
And it's back before us because it's out of time, is that?
It's back before us due to the Town Council's objections, contrary to officer recommendation. The 2017.
No, I mean, sorry, I beg your pardon. This is the planning application. The second planning application is because the 2017 one was out of time.
Oh, sorry, Councillor. Yes.
Yeah, yes, that's right. So it was approved in 2017. Too much time has passed, and so now they have to have another approval.
That's
and
correct.
That's yes. Thank you very much. Good.
Chairman, may I just remind the officers that Marnell is a parish, not a town.
Yes.
And my second question, please, Cass.
Yes, please. Yes.
The situation with renewables.
Yep. Details of design are currently reserved matters. So at this point, there it is to be confirmed.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Is that it, Councillor Fry? Councillor Andrews. Yes, Councillor Andrews. No, I'm sorry.
Not me.
Yes, no, Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Chairman. It's just a quick question. In that slide that you've currently got up there, the black line of hedging that is that existing hedging, or is that indicative of what might be put in? If it's indicative, what's the
Is it conditioned?
Yeah, is it conditioned, basically?
Cass?
Yeah, it's a mixture of both, to be honest. Some of the hedgerows are not in the greatest condition, so the proposal discussed in the application is to do reinforced planting and to try and maintain the existing planting where possible. But there are a number of arboricultural tree and hedgerow planting maintenance and protection conditions proposed, so that would again be detailed at reserve matters.
Yes, I'm just thinking for the impact on the privacy of Salisbury Cottage.
Absolutely.
Are part of those mitigation issues to mitigate that privacy.
That's right. This is, of course, an outline application at this stage, so that will be discussed again in further detail at a later stage. But yes, it's a point well made nonetheless. Councillor Fry again.
Yeah, I would just like to propose this one. It seems very sensible. It's a continuation of a 2017 application, so I would like to propose it, please.
Thank you very much. Can I have a seconder for that?
Yeah, I'm happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cook. Does anybody wish to say anything further before I put this matter to the vote? No, I'm not seeing anything. That's excellent. Thank you very much. I will, as usual, call your name and you will say for, against or abstain. Councillor Andrews.
For.
Councillor Cook.
For.
Councillor Fry.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Heatley.
For.
Jones.
For.
Councillor Penfold.
For.
Councillor Pothcary.
For.
Councillor Taylor.
For.
Good, that's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. That brings us, there being no urgent business, that brings us to the end of the business for this committee for the day, and I thank you all very much. I'm sorry we were rather spread out and it's rather taken up slightly more of our day than we would have wished, but there was nothing we could do, having lost that application, having deferred that application this morning after the agenda was already published. But there you have the rest of the sunny afternoon to yourself. So thank you all very much indeed, and thank you to all our officers again. You've had a long day and we appreciate your support. Thank you very much.